Welcome to True Crime Deep Dive. I am your host, Sherry.
I'm your host, Mark.
Let's dive into it.
Picture this: Florida's forgotten coast. It's usually serene, really picturesque, a place where peace is kind of the norm.
Yeah, total tranquility.
But then, April 23rd, 2018, that peace was just shattered violently.
That's right. That day, just off Highway 98, a body was found, and the signs of violence were just horrific. Bruises head to toe, lacerations.
Unimaginable suffering.
Exactly, and investigators looked at it and immediately thought overkill. This wasn't random, it felt personal, extreme.
But at almost the same time, there's this other grim discovery, right?
Down the road at the Sportsman's Lodge Motel, housekeepers went into room 15.
And found what?
Chaos. Furniture flipped over and the bed just soaked in blood.
Yeah.
Completely saturated. It was obviously the scene of brutal, brutal assault.
Lieutenant Ronnie Jones, he was the lead investigator.
Yes. He said the amount of blood was overwhelming. It instantly told them this wasn't just someone getting hurt. This was likely where someone died.
And there was something else, wasn't there? A smell.
Right. Vinegar. A really strong smell of vinegar. They did a luminol test later and it lit up, showing massive cleanup attempts, especially in the bathroom.
Suggesting some of the worst might have happened there.
Precisely. It suggests they tried really hard to cover their tracks.
So for the investigators, the immediate questions were huge. Who would do something this savage, especially in such a quiet place?
And, crucially, was the killer still around? Was the community still in danger?
And who was the victim?
Took them about 24 hours, but they got an ID. Aileen Seiden, 31 years old, from Miami.
And that's when the story starts getting even more complex, more tragic.
It really does, because as they looked into her life, they found layers.
Yeah, like her best friend, Allie. She told investigators about this last phone call. Haunting.
What did she say?
Aileen apparently called Allie just desperate, saying, "I need your help." And Allie's immediate reaction was, "Run, just run."
But Aileen couldn't.
She just said, "I can't." Chillin'.
It really sets the stage. So, for our deep dive today, we're going beyond that initial shock. We want to explore Aileen's life, the relationships that somehow led her to this tiny Florida town.
And these incredibly conflicting stories
Yeah.
about what actually happened in room 15.
Exactly, and the whole pursuit of justice afterwards, it left everyone with so many questions. We'll dig into the sources you've got, try to understand the darker side of these relationships, and just how hard it can be to find the truth.
Okay, so to really get a handle on Aileen's journey, we need to look back a bit, right? At her past, she faced some significant losses early on.
That's right. Her sister, Francesca, actually became her legal guardian, which is incredible when you think about it.
How old is Francesca?
Just 22. Their mom died from cancer when Aileen was only 9. Then 6 years later, their dad passes away suddenly.
Wow, so Francesca is barely an adult herself, and suddenly she's raising her sister.
Yeah, juggling school, work. Francesca said she didn't even have time to grieve properly. She just had to step up.
That kind of early trauma, it has to leave a mark.
Absolutely. And the sources suggest Aileen, as she got into her 20s, started processing those losses, maybe became more sensitive. It suggested that these early vulnerabilities, sadly, can sometimes make people more susceptible to manipulative relationships down the line.
Which seems to be a pattern here.
Heartbreakingly, yes. Though her friend Allie remembers Aileen in Miami as strong, independent, had her own place, worked as a property manager.
But things changed around 2016. She reconnected with someone from her past.
Zachary Abel. Zach. They'd known each other since they were teens. She wasn't sure about him at first, apparently, but they did eventually start dating.
Okay, so Zach enters the picture. But it wasn't just Zach and Aileen, was it?
No. And this is where it gets really tangled. Investigators quickly learned that Zach, Aileen, and another woman, Christina Arajo, were all seen together near Apalachicola, and they were the ones sharing room 15.
Christina Arajo. Let's talk about her. Who was she in this dynamic?
Well, we hear from Mike Pickavit, someone who knew both Zach and Aileen. He described Zach as really entertaining, extroverted. Okay. Mike actually met Zach years before through Christina, who was Zach's girlfriend at the time. She was about 8 years older than Zach.
And what was Mike's impression of Christina?
Controlling, that's the word he used. And apparently she often bragged about her father.
Oh?
Yeah. Said he was a major with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department and implied he could make legal troubles just disappear.
That adds a whole layer of potential intimidation.
Yeah.
So what did Mike see in terms of the power dynamic between Christina and Zach?
He saw a clear pecking order. Christina called the shots. Zach often just went along with it, even when he was supposedly with Aileen.
So a classic setup for manipulation.
Absolutely. And Mike said it was just bizarre, the weirdest thing. When Zach introduced him to Aileen back in 2016, it made it clear Zach was involved with both women simultaneously.
So Zach's juggling these two relationships. But one woman, Christina, has this hold over him, maybe because of her personality, maybe this connection to law enforcement.
And she was also his business partner, apparently, in a used car dealership. So breaking away wasn't simple.
In Eileen's perspective, her friend Allie said, Aileen loved Zach, kept hoping he'd choose her, but he just strung her along.
Meanwhile, Christina's apparently making threats. Allie mentioned Christina threatening Zach, saying she could make him disappear, especially when she was drinking.
Okay, so fast forward to 2017. Aileen loses her job.
Yeah, her property manager job. Allie thinks this might be why Aileen ended up working at the car dealership with Zach and Christina.
Which must have been incredibly difficult given the dynamic. A real step down from her independent life.
Totally. And she kept pushing Zach, apparently, to finally break things off with Christina.
And when he tried,
Christina's response was unexpected, to say the least. She apparently suggested, why don't we try and all be in a relationship? A throuple.
wow, how did Aileen react to that?
Initially, no way. Allie said Aileen was like, absolutely not. There's no way, it's never gonna work.
But she changed her mind.
She did. They became a throuple. Allie was shocked, but also maybe a tiny bit hopeful, like maybe this could actually work out.
But it did.
No. Mike Pickavet observed it got messy fast. Someone always felt left out. Jealousy flared up. It just shows how these things can fall apart without really clear boundaries and respect.
It got violent.
Very. Irrational behavior, lots of drinking, lots of fighting. Mike described Aileen and Christina literally trading punches.
He said it was like an everyday thing, pretty every second day thing. Black eyes hidden with sunglasses.
Yeah, but here's where accounts start to differ, which is important.
Okay.
Allie, Eileen's best friend, remembers it differently. She says Zach was the main aggressor. Aileen would call her, crying, saying, he hurt me again.
And Allie would take photos of the injuries.
Yes, begging Aileen to report it. Which raises that critical question for investigators, right? When you have conflicting stories like this, how do you figure out what actually happened?
Especially when the victim refuses to go to the police. Aileen wouldn't, right?
No.
Yeah.
She was apparently terrified that Christina's father's connections would mean nothing would happen, or worse, it would backfire on her.
Her sister, Francesca, knew how bad it was. She was desperate for Aileen to leave, but understood how trapped people feel in these abusive cycles.
It's classic coercive control. You feel isolated, intimidated. Seeking help feels riskier than staying. Allie even took Aileen to the ER once.
But Aileen still wouldn't say who hurt her.
No, just stayed silent. It's heartbreaking. Allie saw the danger escalating, told Aileen point blank, someone's gonna end up dead.
Yet, despite all this, Aileen moves in with Zach and Christina in 2018.
Allie thought maybe Aileen felt financially trapped, like this was a last desperate try to make things work. It's a common dynamic, unfortunately.
But didn't last long. Aileen decided she was done, ready to move out.
Yeah, she'd had enough. But then, April 7th, 2018, Zach and Christina get into a huge, violent fight.
And Aileen calls Allie.
From Zach's phone. Says she and Zach are leaving, just going to a coffee shop to get away from Christina for a bit.
But Christina finds out.
Oh, yeah. The next call Allie gets is from a furious Christina, threatening to report the car they took as stolen, trying to force them back.
Allie warns them.
She does. But instead of turning around, Zach and Aileen just drove. Hit the gas and went to Georgia, as Allie put it. Started this impromptu road trip.
Leaving Christina behind. How did she react?
Not well. She apparently bombarded them with texts, over 150 in just 24 hours. Angry, threatening texts. Things like, my dad will be calling you later and you effed me over and now I'm effing you over.
Intense.
But then, maybe 48 hours later, a complete turnaround. Christina texts Zach something like, if you want to come back home, come back. You never have to question my love.
Strange. So did they go back?
No. For reasons we don't fully understand, Zach invited her to join them. She flies out to Dallas, Texas, and meets up with them.
So the throuple is reunited on the road.
And the problems resurfaced almost immediately. Aileen started calling Allie secretly at night, using Zach's phone again, whispering things like, this is getting bad and I don't know what to do.
By day 10 of this trip, Eileen's sister, Francesca, she hadn't heard from Aileen in a while.
Right, she was getting really worried. Then the trio stops in New Orleans, and Aileen finally calls Francesca.
And tells her what?
Something terrifying. She says, I think they're gonna kill me. No joke.
Oh my God.
Francesca is frantic, tells her, run. Get to a gas station, call 911.
Did Aileen do it?
She couldn't or didn't. Francesca tried to get an address, anything to call the police herself, but Aileen had to hang up. Francesca felt completely helpless.
Just awful. You can only imagine her fear.
Yeah. And the road trip just kept going. Another week, winding through different states, eventually leading them towards Panama City, Florida.
But they missed an exit.
Exactly. A missed exit brings them to the Forgotten Coast, to Franklin County.
David Adlerstein, a reporter who covered this whole thing from the start, he described the road trip as just baffling.
Yeah, difficult to understand. Partying one day and murdering the next. That's how he put it.
So, evening of April 21st, surveillance footage shows them arriving in Franklin County.
Stumbling in, clearly been drinking. They eat, play mini golf, party some more. A local suggests the Sportsman's Lodge Motel. They take the last room available.
Room 15.
Room 15.
And April 22nd, the next day.
They decide to stay another day. More partying. There's footage from a liquor store. They bought the biggest bottles of vodka and Fireball whiskey they could find.
And Aileen talks to Allie again that day.
She does. And she sounds terrified. Tells Allie, I'm like a sex slave. Mentions Zach having this really scary look in his eye. And again, she says,
I need your help.
Yes. So the two friends make an escape plan.
Okay, what was it?
Aileen was supposed to get on a bus from Tampa, which was their next planned stop. Allie actually bought her a Greyhound ticket online. Aileen didn't even have her wallet.
So Allie was going to pick her up near Miami.
Exactly. All Aileen had to do was get on that bus. That was the plan.
But Allie never heard from her again after that.
Never got confirmation she was on her way. Just silence.
And then the focus shifts. The next night, hundreds of miles away, Fort Lauderdale, Mike Pickavet gets a knock on his door.
Yeah, it's Zach Abel and Christina Erho, standing right there.
What did Mike think? He knew Aileen was with them.
Exactly. He asks, where's Aileen?
And Christina
immediately says, oh, she ran away.
Did Mike buy it?
Not for a second. He said he called bull. Later, when Christina was out of earshot, he confronted Zach.
Then Zach
broke down, choking up, confessed, she's dead.
Oh, wow. What else did he say?
He claimed Christina killed her, said he woke up, Aileen was dead next to him, he tried CPR, wanted to call 911, but Christina stopped him, kept saying he had to protect Christina.
So Mike's got this bombshell dropped on him. What does he do?
He's scared. Thinks calling 911 with them right there could get violent, so he thinks of the only other person he can, Christina's father.
Colonel Tony Araho, the one Christina bragged about.
The very same. While Zach and Christina are asleep, Mike snaps a photo of them, looks up the colonel's number online.
Does he get through?
He does. Doesn't drop the bomb immediately, just says it's about Christina, it's very important. Colonel Araho tells him to meet at a gas station.
There, Mike tells him.
Yeah. Christina killed somebody.
How does a high-ranking cop react to that?
Immediately shifts into professional mode. You know I'm a cop, right? Takes Mike straight to the sheriff's office to give a formal statement.
And later that day,
Mike identifies Eileen's body from a photo. That confirms everything. Police swarm Mike's house, arrest Zach and Christina just as they're about to leave.
And they're both charged with first-degree murder. Premeditated intentional killing.
That's the initial charge, yes.
But it took years for them to actually face trial.
Almost 6 years. An agonizing wait for Eileen's sister, Francesca, just delay after delay.
Finally, January 2024, Zach Abel's trial begins. But he's alone.
Correct. 8 months earlier, Christina Araho cut a deal. Pleaded guilty to a lesser charge, second-degree murder, admitting she took part in the beating.
And she agreed to testify against Zach.
Exactly. She became the prosecution's star witness.
So the prosecutor, Jared Patterson, he's arguing Zach was more responsible.
That was their position, yeah. And they leaned heavily on Christina's account of what happened inside Room 15 because, well, she was the only one left to tell that story from the inside.
What did she say happened that night, April 22nd?
She testified that after all that drinking, late in the evening, Zach just exploded with rage. Aileen apparently started to say something like, Christina, guess what?
And she never finished the sentence?
Never got the chance. Christina claimed Zach lunged at Aileen, hitting her, yelling, you always start problems.
Did Christina admit to hitting Aileen too?
Yes, she did. Said she also hit Aileen, demanding to know what Aileen was going to say, but Aileen never told her. Then Christina says she left the room for a moment.
And when she came back?
She found Zach and Aileen in the bathroom. She testified Zach had something white in his hand, looked like he was poking her with with it.
And the medical examiner found injuries consistent with that.
Small, circular bruises, consistent with, believe it or not, a shower curtain rod, and the palm print found on that rod.
Belonged to Zach Abel.
Yes.
Christina's testimony continued.
She said the assault moved near the bed. Zach grabbed a wooden walking stick, hit Aileen repeatedly until the stick broke. Pieces were later found in the room and their car.
Horrific.
And then, Christina described Zach sexually assaulting Aileen with the broken stick. Just unimaginable brutality.
David Adlerstein, the reporter, he said the ME compared her injuries to.
Motor vehicle crashes just shows the level of force involved. Christina claims she eventually stepped in, put herself between them, stopped the attack.
At that point, Aileen was still alive.
Badly beaten, but yes, according to Christina. Then somehow, the three of them just fell asleep, exhausted.
And Christina claimed she didn't know Aileen was dead until the morning.
Right, and she only helped clean up because she was scared of Zach. That was her story.
But Zach Abel's defense attorney, Alex Morris, he painted a completely different picture.
Completely different. Morris argued Christina Araujo acted alone. Flat out said, "I believe that she is the murderer."
What was his argument based on?
He pointed to that photo Mike Pickavet took after the murder. It showed Christina had injuries on her hands and feet. Morris argued that showed she was the attacker, the one with the intent to kill.
And those threatening texts Christina sent before she joined them on the road trip.
Morris called them like a confession. Argued she was furious about being left behind, triggered by jealousy.
What about the cleanup? Christina wiping down the room with vinegar.
Morris acknowledged that, but said Zach's prints on the shower rod were from moving it during the cleanup at Christina's direction. He tried to portray Christina as the one in control.
And the driving.
Right. A toll booth photo showed Christina driving after the murder, not Zach. Morris used that to argue she was calling the shots, manipulating Zach, playing on those old threats about her father.
So his conclusion was Christina was the jealous one, the only one who wanted Aileen dead.
That was the defense's case. Zach Abel himself chose not to testify.
So the jury hears these two dramatically different accounts. How long did they deliberate?
About 5 hours.
And the verdict?
Guilty, but not of first-degree murder. Guilty of the lesser charge, second-degree murder, the same charge Christina pled to.
Interesting. Did they say why?
The reporter, Adlerstein, spoke to the jury foreman afterwards. He said they just couldn't unanimously agree that Zach intended to kill Aileen. Couldn't prove that premeditation beyond a reasonable doubt, so they landed on second degree, maybe influenced by Christina's plea deal too.
But Mike Pickavet, the friend, he still believes Zach is innocent.
He does, remains convinced.
Lieutenant Jones, the lead investigator, even though he's retired now, he still wonders about the why, right?
Yeah, exactly. What was Aileen about to say? That specific trigger. He mentioned there were rumors early on that maybe Aileen was going to reveal a pregnancy.
But the autopsy disproved that.
Completely disproved it. So the why remains elusive. And it just underscores how tough it is for juries, you know? Parsing truth from accounts clouded by trauma, self-preservation.
And then, at sentencing, Zach Abel finally speaks and adds another twist.
A pretty big one. He claimed that during that road trip, just before everything went wrong, he'd actually proposed to Aileen with a ring pop candy.
Seriously?
Seriously. Said she said yes, and their plan was to ditch Christina and go off on their own.
How did the prosecution react to that?
Called it BS. Pretty much dismissed it entirely.
And the judge?
The judge focused on the brutality, said he'd rarely seen injuries like Aileen's, sentenced Zach Abel to the maximum life in prison, which in Florida means life. No chance of parole.
And Christina? What happened at her sentencing? Her father spoke.
Yes, Colonel Tony Araujo addressed the court. Made it clear he never used his position to help her, never pulled any strings, said she cooperated knowing full well she could still get life.
What sentence did she receive?
25 years in prison.
So, in the eyes of the law, justice served. Both convicted of second-degree murder. But like Lieutenant Jones said, that central question, the why, especially what Aileen was about to say, it lingers.
It really does. And this whole case, it's just such a stark example of how you get these wildly different stories in the aftermath of violence and intense emotion. You have Christina's detailed testimony.
Then Zach's lawyer saying, no, she did it alone.
And then Zach's last-minute story about a proposal. It really makes you, as a listener, think, when you're faced with these conflicting narratives, how do you even begin to piece together what might have actually happened? How do you find your own understanding?
And the impact on those left behind is just immense. Francesca, Aileen's sister, waiting 6 years for this.
Agonizing. And Allie, her best friend, She talks about how incredibly hard it is for victims to leave abusive situations, that cycle she mentioned.
Where 95% of the time it's okay,
Well,
but the 5%.
Jero so bad. She hopes people can find more compassion, understand that I'm sorry it won't happen again cycle. Victims often believe it because they're in love or feel trapped.
Aileen Seiden. She came to Franklin County as a stranger, but the community really took her story to heart. They remember her as
a sweet, loving human being whose life was just tragically, violently cut short.
And we'll see you soon.
See you next time.
Take care.
Bye.